Hey, good afternoon, Raider Nation and NFL fans. Welcome to another great episode of The Unfiltered Truth. I am your host, Phil Jones. My brother from another mother, Phil Robinson III, is here, and we are joined with special guest, your boy, Q.
What up? What up? How you fellas doing, man? Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, man, it's a blessing to have you on.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Phil Robinson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right.
I had to mute you for a second so I could copy the link and broadcast it everywhere live and let them know we got to come down.
I keep telling you, man, you got to start broadcasting it out to like one of those like Telemundo Twitter pages. I'm telling you, bro, it's a big help for me.
Yeah, no, it's real. It's a lot of people there, and they want to hear some Raider news and some news in general about what's going on. Cute. It's been a long time since we had you on the show, brother. How you doing? Let's talk about you.
Man, I'm doing well, man. I'm blessed. I can't complain. Everything is looking good. Everything is sounding good. It's been a lot of fun. I'm getting excited for this upcoming season, even though we don't know what kind of season it's going to be. We don't know the kind of, ramifications that are going to happen because of the pandemic. But, man, just knowing the football should be around the corner is very exciting.
Absolutely. I know we've all been sitting around waiting, debating, yelling at who our quarterback's going to be, who's to blame. I actually finished writing an article last night coming at John Gruden about a very alarming trend that I discovered in terms of second half scoring and third quarter scoring, or lack thereof, I should say.
Yeah, man, that third quarter scoring is a problem, man. I did a podcast a couple weeks ago, and I really couldn't believe it. And it wasn't because I saw it. Someone had tweeted it out, and I went back and doubled down and was like, man, that really did happen. I think it was Benjamin Solak, but either way, they only scored five times in the third quarter in 2019.
27 total.
That can't happen.
No, 27 total points.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I went back and I literally went back and tracked last year's 2018s and even went back to 2008 for comparison purposes. And it was not pretty, not even close. When I looked at that, I was like,
it was a hot mess.
Yes.
So it's an article at the Raider Ramble entitled "John Gruden Needs to Be Feeling the Heat."
No doubt. I mean, he's got to figure out exactly how to go into the locker room and make adjustments. I mean, that's his job. You know what I mean? We could talk about the quarterback. We could talk about the weapons or the lack of weapons. We could talk about a lot of different things, but halftime adjustments are 100% squarely on the coach. So the coach is the guy who's got to figure out the buttons to push and to get the guys in the right position. So to come out in the third quarter and say, okay, this is what they allowed you to do in the first half. That coach is probably going to take that away. So how do I, instead of playing checkers, how do I play chess and figure out how to be a step ahead of them? That's what Gruden's got to do in 2020. It's got to be better than what he's done in the past.
Absolutely.
No, that's real. And the other thing about it, you just got away from the running game a couple of games. I'm just like, if that's been the key focal point, why are you getting away from that? You should be destroying teams with that. If that's your whole base, you should be going right for the jugular each and every time. Josh Jacobs, I'm like, this guy should be running he should be having at least 20 carries for 100 yards or maybe up to 30 carries at the most. Yes, we knew about his shoulder injury going later on, but still, he was still pushing like a bulldozer no matter what. So, yeah, it's unacceptable on John Gruden's part, and he needs to step it up. Now, if you need to keep running script an entire game, then so be it.
Right.
If you feel like your quarterback's not cutting it, then run the script.
That's what it's got to be. I mean, you got to figure it out. I like what you mentioned about Josh Jacobs, and I think that he's a guy that should touch the ball no less than 25 times a game. I don't care how you get him the ball. I think if he carries the ball, that's fine. If you throw him a couple passes, that's fine too, because he can make that happen. He's got to be a guy that you rely heavily on him. 25 touches a game, and then you use everybody else around him. I think this year it'll be easier to do that because they have more weapons and the box won't be loaded up. But I'm telling you, man, just like you said, there was times in 2019 where he was running, and then all of a sudden the team just got away from it. It's like, wait, hold on, man. Don't stop it until they stop it. You know what I mean? And so that's football 101. And so sometimes I think the coaches outthink themselves when we sit at the house and we look at it on TV and we're like, hey, man, the run game is working. Go ahead and stick with it. So hopefully in 2020, it's a lot better than it was.
Now, since you said that and something just jumped out to me, was he not confident in Jalen Richard or DeAndre Washington? Could that have been the key reason why he wasn't confident with sticking with the run the entire game? Because he knew about Josh is getting worn down. He was dealing with certain little minor nicks that were slowing him down. Maybe. Could it have been that?
It could be. I mean, it really could be. I'm not a guy that's very big on Jalen Richard running the ball between the tackles. I'm just not. I mean, and even though in his rookie year, he did a pretty good job of it, but I think that the Raiders have upgraded that position, so they don't really need him to run the ball through the tackles. DeAndre Washington was pretty good. He stepped up and filled a decent role, but it wasn't great. You know, I mean, it's just you kind of knew what he was going to do, but he did. He gave 100% effort. I can appreciate that. He gave everything he got while he was out there. But, yeah, I think that we all realize as fans that there's a drop-off between, you know, Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Washington, and Jalen Richard when it comes to running the rock between the tackles. So I always thought that they needed a bruiser. They needed a guy that could just go in there and just pound that thing and wear some of the defensive linemen down that they didn't really have. And like you mentioned, with Josh Jacobs getting injured and not being able to finish out the regular season, you kind of knew where the offense was going to go, that, well, if he's not out there, then there's really trouble. And good for Hunter Renfrow because he was able to step up and really let his presence be felt towards the end of the season. Like, hey, I'm not just a receiver that can catch a smart pass here or a good pass here or a touchdown here. I always said it was going to be quantity or quality over quantity with Hunter Renfrow. But at the end of the season, when they needed him, it became quantity as well. I mean, he started really loading it up and starting becoming available for Derek Carr. So I think the future is bright for him as well moving forward.
I think overall with this offense going forward for 2020 is bright in general. I mean, it's like an Oprah Winfrey giveaway. You get a weapon. You get a weapon. You get a weapon. Hey, you in the corner that have been cleaning up. You get a weapon.
You get a touchdown.
You have Lynn Bowden Jr. You have Devontae Booker, who I'm still going to give the respect that he has, what he was as a running back. Even though he came from Denver, I don't care about that. But he still has a lot of good skill sets. You look at, you still have Jalen Richard. You have Josh Jacobs. You have who our first round pick is, Henry Ruggs III. You still have Tyrell Williams that's coming off. He's coming back healthy. You have Darren Waller. I can just keep going down the list. Even Jason Witten. Knowing that Jason Witten is old, he's still a key factor.
Right. He's still smart. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. He's been in the game, done it a long time. I think he's really going to be leaned on for leadership in 2020, especially being in Vegas. And not that these guys can't handle themselves, but Jason Witten's been there, done that. He's a pro's pro. He knows how to get it done. I think he's really going to help these guys take care of their bodies, know what to do after games, during practice and all that. Just I think he's going to go a long way as far as that leadership roles goes. And then at the same time, he can still catch a pass. He can still be a guy that if you don't pay attention to, he's going to, he can get loose a little bit. But what I like about the tight ends, guys, and I don't know how healthy Foster Moreau is at this point. I know he's been working out in Vegas, but I really like those double tight ends with Darren Waller and Foster Moreau. I think there's two of the better tight ends tandem in the league. I really, really think that Foster Moreau being a 4th round draft pick in 2019, that guy really came on strong in the season and then obviously tore his ACL. But man, those two guys right there, that's the future tight ends, and the future looks bright at that position for me.
Absolutely. I think that Witten just all the veteran leadership, all the wisdom, all the knowledge that he can impart on both of those two guys is only going to help them and get stronger. Like you said, Q, they are the future. They are the bright spots of this offense. And honestly, you probably still are going to look for Darren Waller to have a monumental year, even with everything that they've added to this offense. And it's really just a beautiful thing. And as I've been sitting here listening to you guys, it was just beautiful because I watched my whole article just come around in this conversation. Wrap it all.
Nice. That just kind of solidified what you've already been saying, right? We just backed you up.
That's right. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I put this in it too.
I know that's right. But no, I'm excited, man. I am. I'm excited about the future of the team. It's the 3rd year under John Gruden, obviously opening up a new stadium. We don't know a lot of things right now. We don't know what's going on with this pandemic. It's up in the air. Preseason looks like it's going to be 2 games, and it might be no games. I saw earlier today the NFLPA says they don't want to play any preseason games. So besides that big elephant in the room, which is the big unknown, I'm so pumped up about this season. I think it's a new chapter in Raider football that I think a lot of people are really, really going to enjoy. You're going to see that stadium once it's allowed to be filled. It's going to be filled. It's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy. And I think you're going to see a really good team that's been built from the ground up, not just plugging holes with free agents, but built from the ground up so you can have longevity. So 2016 doesn't happen again, where you have one good year, you get all hot and bothered, and you go to the playoffs, and then you don't sniff the playoffs for years again. You don't want to have that, man. You want to have that consistency. And I think that's what the Raiders are trying to build, a consistent playoff team. That's what I think.
No, that's real. Absolutely. And, you said something about free agency that they kept piling up with money and whatnot, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And they did it on the defensive side of the ball, like 2016, you making these big splashes on Sean Smith or Reggie Nelson and whatnot. But the one thing we saw different this year, they went heavy in free agency defensively.
Yeah.
But it wasn't old guys. These were young guys. These are guys that they have a lot left in the tank. They're looking to give you probably about another another 6 years at least.
Right.
They had no wear on the body. Kwiatkowski finally getting an opportunity to be like a full-time starter. He did an excellent job coming in for Roquan Smith and leading the defense. He did a solid job in pass coverage, something that was been hurting the Raiders for God knows how long against tight ends, and especially you bringing Littleton from Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
And Raiders fans all around, they can say, thank you, God, we have linebackers that can cover tight ends.
Yep. And it's funny, man, that was such a priority. And I thought that the Raiders were going to have to go into the draft and go and get, a dude out of a homeboy out of Oklahoma. I thought they were going to have to go get him, or I thought they were going to go and get Patrick Queen out of LSU. Yeah. But they really didn't want to have to do that. And so to be able to go and get those linebackers in free agency, that was so smart. And when they got Kwiatkowski the first day, I thought, okay, they upgraded the linebacking room. But I thought they were done. I really did. I thought that took them out of the running for Littleton. And then when they doubled down and got Littleton, I realized they understand that the weakest link on that defense right now is that linebacking core. And they've got to have guys that can shed blocks and tackle. They got to have guys that can cover a tight end. They've got to have guys that can make adjustments. And, the Raiders honestly haven't had linebackers that have been studs since Kirk Morrison and Thomas Howard. Rest in peace to Thomas Howard. But that's many, many, many years ago, and so it's been a rough deal. And I talked to Kirk Morrison just the other day, and he's on the Rams pre and post game show. And so he told me straight up, he said, Corey Littleton is a guy who came in as an undrafted free agent. He's a guy who worked his way onto the field through special teams, and now he's a starter. He has room to grow. He's going to get better. He hasn't even reached his peak yet. That made me excited from a guy who I know was probably the last great linebacker that the Raiders had to tell me that the linebacker that the Raiders just brought in free agency is going to get better. That was something that fired me up. So I'm excited about that unit. I don't think it's the weakest link on the roster anymore. The only issue I have with the defense, there's so many new pieces, and this offseason is so strange. They're going to have to try to catch up. That's it. The offense, you guys already mentioned a lot of guys coming back, returning. That's great. Consistency is good. But on the defense, there's so many new parts that they're going to have to try to learn on the fly instead of having all the time to learn in practice, OTAs, training camp, rookie mini camp, all that stuff. They're going to have to learn on the fly. That's the only issue I have. And we all know as fans, the Saints are coming to town week 2.
No, that's absolutely true. And I think with the little Zoom classes that they've been having going on since the end of the draft, from what I'm gathering, has been very helpful. Yeah. You know how John Gruden is. He likes to pick your brain piece by piece by piece on what you can comprehend, what you can understand in the scenario. I mean, yeah, you don't have to always be on the field for it, but if you can drill them in the classroom and see where they are football knowledge-wise, that's going to be the major part with them going on that field.
I agree. Those Zoom classes are very, very important. And apparently from what Greg Olson was saying and some others were saying, they've had 100% attendance. Everybody's been there. So that means everybody's hungry. I saw that comment in one of the live comments that they feel like that they have a bunch of hungry dudes on the roster. I do too. I really think that there's a lot of hungry guys that want to prove that they belong, want to prove that they're foundational pieces and they can help this team improve and get better year to year. And so that's all you want, man. That's all I ever want. I want a guy who's out there willing to bust his tail and work for everything he's got. And I think that the Raiders have a bunch of those kind of guys. And those are the Mike Mayock kind of guys. Those are the John Gruden type of guys. Those are the Paul Gunther type of guys. So, I'm excited about the direction. I think there's a lot of talent on this roster. Now, we all know talent is great, but you got to be able to come together. You got to be able to make it happen on the field. But at least we know the talent is there, where in previous years, the talent wasn't there.
No, absolutely not. Phil, I know you've been quiet this whole time, bro.
I mean, it's 15 minutes of pure bliss for me because I'm just all those hours I spent last night, just almost word for word. It's like beautiful poetry in motion. I love it when a plan comes together and great minds are all thinking alike because, like you said, the talent is there. The excuses are not. The facilities are world class. The chefs are top notch. There is literally nothing else that you could ask for to promote winning in this particular situation in the Las Vegas Raiders franchise. They have everything that you need to be a top-notch franchise. All they need to do is have their coach figure out his second half issues, remember how to make adjustments to what teams might possibly be doing, not get cute, although as I sat and I thought about it, Josh Jacobs being hurt could be a real reason why they went away from the running game, especially without capable backups. I've written about Washington and Rashad and my guy Fumbles. And when you look at their numbers, they're averaging about 3.7 yards per carry and only a touchdown or two on the ground between the two of them per season. So that's nothing to write home about in terms of your backups. We've got Devontae Booker, who actually has a line to run behind. I liked him coming out of Utah. Yeah. And Lynn Bowden is going to be all over the place doing everything, and that's instant speed in the back. That Lynn Bowden is probably the second fastest guy on this offensive roster. And now you're moving him all around and forcing him to get isolated against linebackers, and that's going to be problems for opposing defenses. We touched on the quarterbacks, and if one quarterback ain't acting right, you got two other guys who do virtually the same thing that have been sitting here watching where he's making his mistakes in order to come in and correct them. So all in all, as a whole, I'm looking at a team, I'll be the first to say, I expect this team to go to the playoffs, and if they don't, that's a huge disappointment.
It is. It's something that I've been saying for a while as well. Last year, I was very adamant that I wasn't going to talk about the P word because I didn't think they were ready. I just didn't. I looked at the roster and I looked at the schedule and thought, nah, this is not a team that's thinking about the playoffs. And a lot of people talked about the playoffs because they were in it till week 17. I mean, mathematically, they were really in it, when's the last time you said the Raiders were in the playoff hunt in week 17? It's been a while outside of 2016. So I didn't talk about the playoffs last year, but I did say I expect playoffs in 2020 in Vegas the first year. And the thing about it is it's going to be difficult because we all know the Chiefs are the favorite to win the division. I mean, why wouldn't they? They're bringing back just about their whole squad that just won the Super Bowl. So I get that. But, there's an extra wild card spot. There's an extra roster or extra spot now in the playoffs that's expanded to 14 teams. So I just don't see why they should win less than 9 games this year. And I'm kind of tapping out at around 11. I'm in that window of 9-7 to 11-5 is my expectations for the Raiders. And I'll even double down to go a little farther. I believe that they beat the Chiefs one time this year as well. They've been getting swept by the Chiefs for the past few years. I believe that they do win a game, and I think it's going to be that Week 5 game as long as it's played on time. That Week 5 game, it's in Kansas City, but it's before the Raiders bye. And so I think that's the one that they're going to beat the Chiefs with. And the reason why I don't think that they win the game against the Raiders and Chiefs in Vegas is coming off the Chiefs bye. And we all know how the Chiefs play coming off their bye. Andy Reid is a really stinking good coach coming off the bye. So I'm not giving them that game, but I'm definitely giving them Week 5 and think that they can win that game against Kansas City in Kansas City. And that will give them a lot of momentum going into the bye week and also the rest of the season, knowing that they just knocked off the Super Bowl champs.
Week 5.
Okay, so all three great minds think alike right here. Thank God. Oh, man. I really talked about this a couple weeks ago. Thank you. Someone sees it the way I see it. Oh, my, I had a teardrop. Golly.
No, week 5 is a big week for the Raiders. As you said, I'd like to see them get that win against Kansas City, but by that particular time headed into the bye week, you're going to see what you have at quarterback. I've been saying a long time now that coming out of the bye, if there's a move that's going to be made, that's when it's going to be made. And we will have everything. We will have seen pretty much everything that we're going to see by the time they go into the bye and coming out of Kansas City.
Yeah, the thing about it is, I think for the Raiders to do what we're talking about, which is go to the playoffs, go 9-7, go 10-6, go 11-5. I think DC's got to be the guy all year. I mean, I really do. And I know a lot of Raider fans aren't going to want to hear that, but I think that that's what's going to be the key. And it's going to go back to the weather. I mean, not the weather, but the off season. Nobody knows what kind of off season it is. He's been in the system. He knows what John Gruden wants. I mean, there's really no excuse for him. You know what I mean? The weapons are there. We've always thrown in well, he doesn't have weapons. Well, he doesn't have this. Look, he's got everything he could possibly want. And he knows what John Gruden wants. He knows what John Gruden is going to demand him to do. And it's up to him and Gruden to get on the same page and make it work. And so I think if Marcus gets into the game and it's not just just as a trick here, a trick there, wild card here, wild card, whatever. If he gets in and it has to be the starter, I think the Raiders are in some big trouble. So I understand where a lot of people are saying at the bye week is when he's going to get benched and then he's going to then Marcus Mariota is going to come back. If that happens, guys, the Raiders are in trouble in 2020 because I just don't think Marcus Mariota could be up to speed even by week 5. I mean, I really don't. Just because John Gruden, even though he doesn't have a complex system on the field, he has a complex system as far as play calls and as far as getting in and out of huddles. And he's probably way too much, too wordy. He probably should simplify things, but he's an old school coach. He's not going to do that. So I think that the best bet for the Raiders in 2020, if they want to go to the playoffs, and yeah, we said playoffs. If they want to go to the playoffs, I think Derek Carr is going to have to be that dude.
I get it. But didn't Mariota deal with a lot of verbiage with his offense going back to Oregon?
Yeah. Chip with
usually if someone's dealt with that, they should be able to comprehend what John Gruden's getting them to do with this system. I mean, if I recall, remember he went over a lot of systems where he was able to pick that up. He could pick that one up and pick that next one up. So I wouldn't see it as a real major problem, but I do see what you're saying on it, where it's like, everybody's had that struggle with John Gruden's old school verbiage in the offense, and it's a 50-50 where you don't want to take that chance, and you want Derek Carr to go on to succeed. Yeah.
Right. I just think that if outside of an injury, you don't want to see Marcus Mariota in the game for a long period of time. If you have to see him in the game for a long period of time, I think things went really, really bad. Again, injuries happen. So he could be in week 1. I mean, who knows? But I just think that Derek Carr is the best option right now. And I know he needs to do a lot of things better. He's got to really. But again, like I mentioned, he does not have any excuses. I think he knows that. I think John Gruden knows that. I think the whole squad knows that. There's no excuses why they're not a really good team offensively this year. I mean, they were great between the 20s in 2019. They just couldn't punch it in the end zone. Their red zone offense was terrible. They've got to find a way to improve that.
Yeah, you can't be accurate all over the field and not in the red zone.
Right.
That's a major problem.
Yep.
And your tight end can't see three targets inside the red zone, 6 targets, inside the red zone, 3 inside the 10-yard line when he's 6'6". That's asinine to me.
Well, he'll get to see more this year because now they won't be able to double cover him. They won't be able to cheat over his way because now you got a guy like Ruggs, you got a guy like Renfro, you got a guy like Josh Jacobs. I mean, you got so many options. Tyrell Williams, hopefully he's healthy and he's got a big body. Brian Edwards, if he's healthy, maybe he'll show something this year. Bowden Jr., like you guys mentioned already, I think he could be a guy that can come in the red zone and get a little freaky. There's a lot of different guys and a lot of different options. And I can't take credit for this, but somebody tweeted it at me yesterday that it was a video of John Simpson, the guard from Clemson, and he was in the backfield running the rock, and he got it into the end zone, old school refrigerator Perry style. So I'm not saying I want to see it all the time, but it's something.
I want to see that. I want to see that. Give the big man some love.
I love to see the big man score. I don't
want to see it all the time because it becomes predictable, but I wouldn't mind seeing it once in a while.
Yeah, every once in a while, they gonna get. Oh, he look at that, and then the big man got love the big man
play action. Had the big man run through the flat.
right. Donald Penn did it back in the day. Why not?
Yeah. But and then the one other person we literally forgot, Jason Witten, right there in the end zone.
Yeah. Yep. He's the guy who can make it happen.
Big part of that.
Yeah, he's going to be sitting in zone. He doesn't even have to run a route. All he's got to do is recognize the defense, find the hole, turn around, and get big.
Exactly. And that's something that he can do. I mean, he knows exactly how to do that. He knows how to find a hole in the defense. Sit down where they're not. That's what Jason Witten could do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Made a whole career out of it.
Exactly.
One thing I'm going to need Derek. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, he made a Hall of Fame career out of that. That's all.
One thing I'm going to need Derek Carr to start doing more. And I mean, it's that one look system, but it really doesn't have to be that one look system. Derek's going to have to start looking at more targets and just start eyeing down that one receiver. It's getting him in trouble, and it's gotten him in trouble plenty of times against Kansas City. He doesn't do that against Kansas City this year. That's the game changer because they've got him down. They got him read to the point where it's like football for dummies.
Right. No, you're right. And that's one of the things. And even going back to last year when they picked up AB, and I know nobody wants to talk about AB, but one of my biggest hangups was when AB and Big Ben used to make magic, a lot of time it was on broken plays. A lot of times it was Big Ben keeping plays alive with his feet or just scrambling around in the backfield and allowing AB to get open. And I said, if Derek Carr doesn't do that, AB's it's not gonna matter. He's not gonna be able to capitalize like he usually does because he keeps working and keeps working and keeps working. I think that the Raiders have wide receivers like that. I think Henry Ruggs is gonna be one of those guys that's gonna continue to work to get open. Hunter Renfrow is a guy who's gonna continue to work to get open. But Derek Carr can't settle and just say, okay, well, here, I'm gonna get rid of it because my first read's not there. He, like you said, he's gonna have to sit in that pocket and be comfortable and, maybe even get a little nervous here and there, but still he's going to have to move around his legs and just don't have to necessarily run, but you've got to readjust where the pocket is. You got to move the pocket a little bit and then allow your wide receivers to get open. It worked against Houston when he hit Tyrell Williams on a big opening drive touchdown pass. It was beautiful. I mean, he just rolled out a little bit and boom, Tyrell Williams was wide open. All he's got to do is move the pocket once in a while, but too often he just, okay, I'm getting rid of it. I'm done. It's getting a little hectic. Oh, my first read's not there. Let me dump it off and take 2 yards, 3 yards, and then live to see another down. Sometimes you got to take a shot.
Cute.
No, absolutely.
Cute. Have you not seen the videos? all the park videos, bro. If I have to watch this man go out there and throw another goddamn 5-yard out against air with no defense, instead of practicing throwing deep just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind, bro. We sit here and talk about what he needs to do, and what he's perfecting is the 5-yard pass.
Right. Well, I mean, he's got to get that out of his system. I could appreciate getting some yardage and taking what the defense gives you, but you can't let them get comfortable and just calling you check down Charlie, man. You've got to let it rip. And we saw him let it rip at times. In 2016, he let it rip. 2016, there was a lot of downfield balls, but he's got to have confidence in it. And I don't know if it's the ankle. I don't know if it's because he broke his ankle that Christmas Eve against the Colts. I don't know if it's that. And he's just been skittish ever since, but he gets rid of it and gets off his first read and just gets rid of it too quickly. He's got to have to stay in there and throw it around the yard, man. He's going to have to.
See, I can't call him skittish because I go and see him try to do those wild, amazing dives like he did against week 2 against the Chiefs. Yeah. Trying to dive for a first down that he didn't get. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, it's not the ankle. It's not your back. So what is it?
Right.
If you're doing that extra stuff right there, you need to be implicating that into every other play that you're running.
Exactly.
Perhaps you're out there and you see these receivers like Ruggs, like you were talking about with AB, you see with Ruggs, you look with Tyrell Williams, you look with Renfrow. You know what their quarterbacks used to do? Sometimes even Phillip Rivers, slow behind, had to roll out to extend plays to try to get his target downfield. He had to extend it by moving around in the pocket or getting out of the pocket. And we hadn't seen enough of that with Carr. And when some people tried to justify that he's extending the plays, like, well, he's moved around a little bit like that. To be honest, I shouldn't be seeing Derek roll back another -5, 10 yards back. I should see him going forward a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 yards or getting over towards the sideline and launching it downfield like he's done before to, I don't know, a guy like Rod Streeter back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got to step up in the pocket, man. He's got to get comfortable stepping up in the pocket and letting that thing rip, man. And if you got the guys, and I said this because I was surprised. I don't know about you guys. I was surprised when they drafted Henry Ruggs. And it's not because Henry Ruggs is a bad wide receiver. I was surprised because he was a guy that I didn't expect to fit in the John Gruden offense. I thought he didn't really have a place in what we've seen so far from John Gruden, where it's the quick slant, the quick whatever, the little crossing routes. And I know Henry Ruggs runs those really well, but I said, okay, now with Henry Ruggs and that speed, you've got to use it, right? You can't have it and not use it. I'm not going to go buy a Ferrari and take my kids to school in it. I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, if I have a Ferrari, I'm going to put it out on the highway. I'm going to let that thing rip, and you're going to see me. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he's got to do. So don't go and get your high-octane weapon and then decide that you want to limit it yourself, put a general on it where it can't go over 65. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to do that. So if you're going to have them, use them. So that gives me hope that, okay, this offense this year is going to be more explosive. You're going to see more shots down the field. You're going to see more creativity in the play calls. You're going to see guys with speed use that speed. But that, again, goes back to John Gruden getting in the lab and making it happen. And he said he had a lot of plays that he wanted to call for AB that he never called. Well, let me see him. I want to see him. I believe in what he's saying, but I want to see it. And now we know that the players are there. We know the talent is there. Now I want to see you take that talent, put it on the field, and make it go.
So I went back and looked at his old playbook, and it's amazing how you can pull those things up online now. You look back at what he did with his Raiders playbook. You go back and you can find what he did with Tampa Bay playbook, and these are plays that are like a guy like that was meant to be for like Antonio Brown, but really now for Henry Ruggs, it's there.
Right.
But the question is your quarterback going to put him in the position to where he can succeed on these big plays? It can't just be a 1 or 2 thing. It's got to be on the average. The Raiders with this playbook, I feel like we really haven't seen the true identity of this playbook. That's one thing. And the second thing is
real.
Our quarterback, he's going to have to average, I don't know, maybe about a good average of 10 to 12 good big plays. He's going to have to go to 10 to 12 on this, and he can do it.
Right. Yeah.
I know it sounds like a lot for some folks, but I believe it's possible that you go 10 to 12 on like, okay, I should be seeing not just 1 or 2 big bomb plays on like an entire game. I should be seeing it multiple times within the first, second. I should see 4th quarter as well. You got to go all out. You can't be that conservative. And right there, if you want everybody to stop looking at you and saying that, oh, you guys can't get it done with Derek Carr, you can't get it done with that, and you hear Derek Carr run and say, no excuses, blah, 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 I'm tired of this and that. Well, you got to put up or shut up, bro. You got to show everybody that you were brought in to be this franchise quarterback. Yeah, it's going on, year 7.
Yeah.
We need more from you. We see the stats. We see you getting 4,000 yards or 21 touchdowns. We need more than that because you got to add the wins in. You got to show that you can put up like what Roethlisberger. You can put up like how Breeze is. And what I mean by that, I mean like you need to show everybody that, oh, Derek Carr ain't no. I don't want to F with Derek Carr. I don't want to get on his bad side. He's gonna light my defense up. He's got to strike fear into these defenses, and right now he's not, because all I see is hey buddy, how you doing? Oh, daggone it, gosh darn it, give me a hug,
brother.
Well, he what he needs to do is he needs to keep defenses honest. It's really, everything you just said basically boils down to he has to be able to keep the defense honest. And by doing that, you take a couple shots. You take a couple shots early. I don't understand why when they create turnovers, which doesn't happen very often, but when they do create turnovers, they don't take a shot immediately. You know, they used to always do that. That's almost football 101 rule. You know, you make a turnover, you create a short field, you take a shot immediately, you know, and so many times they'll end up running the rock or doing, you know, it's just like, come on, man, you got momentum on your side. You got a little bit of energy. Go ahead and use that. So I think, you know, going back to, you know, us fans, we need more from Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr needs more from Derek Carr. I think he honestly knows that he needs more from himself as well. He needs to dig deep inside and say, okay, they've trusted me with this franchise. They've put these weapons around. They could have easily gone out and got a Brady. They could have gone and got a Cam Newton. They could have gone and got a Jameis Winston. They could have got whatever quarterback you want to insert. They could have drafted a guy. They could have done a lot of things. They didn't. They trusted Derek Carr, and they went and got a backup just that could push him a little bit, which is great. I think that's something he needed as well. But now that they put that trust in you, now that they put those weapons around you, reward them with, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm really going to give them everything I got. In 2020, there should be no excuse why quarterbacks don't throw for at least 30 touchdowns a year. No. I mean, it's a passing league. It's an offensive league. He threw for 21 touchdowns. You got to have at least 30. And I'm not trying to knock him. I'm not trying to make this sound like a Derek Carr bashing session, but you got to know what the standard is. You know, it used to be for running backs to get 1,000 yards, you had a good season. That's cool, whatever. It's not really a big deal anymore. But 30 touchdowns should be a minimum that you get as a quarterback in today's day and age as far as the NFL goes.
To be considered good anyway.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So, especially when you've been given everything that you were asking for. I heard it through the grapevine that Ruggs was actually Derek Carr's favorite receiver coming out of the draft just for the speed purposes. I mean, if you look at the way that Ruggs runs his routes and how he can fit in this, I immediately go back to thinking about Joey Galloway. And that if they use him as that type of wide receiver in this offense, they'll be just fine.
You know, the other thing about that is we all talk about Henry Ruggs and his speed, and we think he's going to take the top off of defense and everything. He can, but that's not even what he does to the best of his ability. You know what I mean? He takes a lot of those slants and takes them to the house. He gets those yards after the catch, which is what John Gruden likes. So as long as they get the ball in his hands, that's what they got to do. They got to feature him. I saw someone post like 6 to 8 touches a game. Yeah, a guy like Henry Ruggs should get 6 to 8 touches, 6 to 8 targets, whatever you want to say. He should get that every single game just so defenses know, hey, they're going to use this guy with these wheels. They're going to try to get him the rock any way they can and exploit the defense. He's got to be able to keep the defenses honest like that. And that opens up the game for Josh Jacobs. That opens it up for Darren Waller. That opens it up for everybody else. If you can go to your targets, if you can go to the guys with speed, if you could do all that, then everything becomes a lot easier, and it becomes easier for Derek Carr too. I mean, it's just it all works together, but it starts with John Gruden. And Derek Carr trickles right to Derek Carr, where they've got to grab this offense and they've got to own it, and not just run it. They've got to own it.
Yeah, right routes to the left side when the guys are running wide open because the space has been vacated. Just that out there.
Exactly.
So we've been talking about our beloved Raiders. I got a question for you, Q. Are you signing the COVID waiver to go watch your football team in person?
Am I going as a media guy or am I going as a fan?
As a fan.
As a fan, I'm probably going to stay home. I'm probably going to stay home as a fan. Now, the Raiders are a little different because it's a new stadium, and I want to go break that stadium in. You know what I mean? I want to go and check it out and enjoy it. But I feel like if you have to sign a waiver, there's probably a better idea that you should probably just stay home. But I get why you'd want to go. You know what I mean? Like, for every reason – to go to an NFL game is awesome. It's a great experience. I get it. It's very costly, but it's a good experience. And, you know, it's like I said, if I'm going as a media guy, I'm going to sign it because I want to be there to make sure I can cover my team and I can do what I got to do. And, you know, that there's no better coverage than being there live in person. But as a fan, and if I have too many options, I probably would just say, you know what, I'm going to have to sit this one out just because I don't want to go to the game selfishly and then come home and give it, you know, maybe give something that I catch to a loved one. And then all of a sudden it's on me because I had to go to the game, you know. So there's going to be plenty of people that will sign it. I know it won't even be a question, so they won't have to worry about filling my seat. But I think that I would have to sit that one out if I was going as a fan.
I mean, I kind of did like a little poll on it. It seems like about half the nation's kind of split on it, where it's like, oh, you know, I'll sign it. Yeah, this is my Raiders by any means necessary. And then you got someone, you know, I'm up there in age, man. I can't do this anymore. And then, you know, I just had a newborn. I can't do that. man, Gildo, you only live one. And it's just that split between the comments. And it's like, I mean, everybody's on a 50-50 split on it. But when you really look at it and you see what the union's doing, the NFL Players Association, they're implicating these rules, where when it comes down to the very end, a lot of people are going to end up getting their money back.
Yep.
I hate to break it down. I hate to break anybody's bubble. I hate to crush your dreams this year, but they're going to end up looking to keep the fans out for 2020 and let you come back 2021.
Right.
Because a lot of the players, you heard what Malcolm Jenkins was saying a couple weeks back, saying that, hey, we're not essential workers.
Nope.
Right.
We don't have to play.
Nope.
And what's going to end up happening with leaders like him, they're going to say, we love the fans, but if you want us to play, we can't have any fans in there. Because if you have fans that are not wearing that mask and you seeing how they're explaining that how if you have COVID-19, how far that can project out. Now imagine that being over 1,000 people and that projecting out all over the stadium.
Right.
And you have a dome. Now you're contained in there.
Yeah.
Right. And you're screaming. And Henry Ruggs just took 185 yards and you're yelling and screaming that he just got a touchdown and you're losing. I mean, as fans, what do? We'll sit in the stands and we'll start hugging with someone we've never seen. We'll start high-fiving with someone we've never seen. I do it all the time. I ain't gonna lie. At the Oakland Coliseum, I had 60,000 best friends. You know what I mean? Like I was. That's just what we do. That's what we do as fans. So. I mean, that natural reaction, as soon as a touchdown happens, as soon as Derek Carr hits someone deep or whatever, and oh my God, they're going to lose their mind. I'm high-fiving with this dude next to me that might be 6 feet away, but I'll run down the walkway to go high-five him. I mean, there's so many different scenarios, man, that you don't, as a fan, think about while it's happening. When some big play happens, are you going to say, well, I better social distance because I don't want to get COVID? Or are you going to jump up out of your seat and lose your effing mind? You're going to jump up. That's what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
you're playing a risky game. I mean,
yep.
It's in my opinion, like I said, like I'm about the same as Q. As media, am I going to be looking to cover that? Absolutely. Yeah. Be in that booth, the whole luxury.
With my mask on and everything.
Yeah. We got a working elevator. We ain't got to worry about a busted venom machine with the rats up in that bad boy. I mean,
and that's going to be different too. The way that we cover games is going to be different too. They're not going to have a press box that's going to be as loaded as usually is. There's not going to be locker room access like there usually is. There's not going to be one-on-ones. There's going to be a lot of Zoom. There's going to be a lot of conference calls. There's going to be a lot of stuff like that. The game has changed, man. What we were used to doing and accustomed to doing and walking into the locker room, shaking hands with someone and putting a phone in their face or a recorder in their face and recording, that ain't going to happen, man, especially not this year. It ain't going to happen. So just the way that we even are used to covering games and covering sports is going to be so different that fans may not understand, like, wait a minute, usually you have a one-on-one interview. Nah, not this year. It ain't no one-on-one like that. Not anymore.
Right.
Man, the one thing usually kills me. Everybody wants you to get the interview right away. I'm like, I need to let my man get dressed right here. I'll wait till he gets dressed. I ain't trying to rush into that locker room and be like, hey, what? No, I see.
We offer men the respect of putting on their pants. Meat swing free. We can't conduct a professional interview with a man that don't have no pants on. It just that's. Peel back the curtain a little bit and let y'all know, bro. That's not cool.
You say that. We were in Houston at the Texans and Raider game last year, and I went into the locker room, and that was the game that Trayvon Mullen got his first start. So everybody wanted to interview Trayvon Mullen after the game because just, hey, how did everything go? How'd you feel getting your first start? And LaMarcus Joyner had just came out the shower, and his locker was right next to Trayvon Mullen's. Well, I'm a radio guy, so I don't have a camera, but there's TV guys with cameras, so they're pointing their camera at Trayvon Mullen. LaMarcus Joyner standing there right next to him, butt naked, and he's like, "Hey, man, y'all want to turn that camera on or camera off because you're gonna get meat on your film. all you're going to get is meat on. That's all he kept saying. There's going to be meat on this film if you don't turn off the camera. And finally, Will Kiss, he said, "Hey man, yeah, let's shift the huddle a different direction because LaMarcus is trying to get dressed." But then he started feeling himself, and he's like, "Well, you know what? That's all right. I'm packing. I'm good. Just go ahead and put it on TV. It's cool." So it was funny, but that's what happens. I mean, you gotta kind of give a man a space and let him get dressed before you start interviewing him.
Hey, that's real. Look, the game that Adrian Peterson, he went up on the rushing record and passed Sean Alexander. I'm interviewing him, and all of a sudden, I see Zach Brown come out of nowhere, be like, "Oh, y'all want to interview Adrian?" I'm like, God, this man ain't gonna put no damn clothes on. Go away, get out the camera shot. This man like, oh, is my ass in the way? Let me fly a little bit over this way.
You can't take black people nowhere, especially.
Oh my gosh, it was hilarious, and you have to stay serious with the face like, oh, let me start over. Adrian, blah 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 blah. You still having the background. I had to do so much editing to get that out. Oh my gosh, but it's a trip.
It is, and the players they'll play up to it sometimes, and if they see you rolling or they see a camera rolling, they'll play up to it a little bit just to kind of make it a little uncomfortable. But I mean, sometimes you just got to get in there and handle your business, man, and just go in there and get that interview and just knock it out, and that's just what we do too. But that won't happen this year, that's for sure.
No, it won't.
Now, another thing that I've been keeping an eye on, we've been seeing, like we said earlier, we saw Carr, we saw a couple of the team members, some of the rookies out there practicing out in that field. But we look at what the NFL Players Association has been saying about having them do private practices. And from what we're starting to find out, they're going to start getting fined for that. If I recall, word was the email got sent out to the Raiders saying, "Hey, we're going to need Derek Carr and them to kind of cut this out. We're trying to keep these guys from being sick, and especially with the increase in COVID cases in Nevada, we need this to stop." So we still continue after that was said. We still see Derek Carr and them still going out there and playing.
Right.
And if, let's say, and God forbid, I don't want anyone to get that. I lost someone close to me from that, and it sucks. I don't want anyone getting sick, and I want everybody to understand that. I don't want not a soul to get sick from that. That's going to be brutal for this team. For anybody to catch it. I know they're going to be working on things going around the time before camp where they're working with the equipment. I know they're looking to add different things where I think they're going to have a mask connected to their helmet. And I know they're going to be working closely with medical. I think most of these guys are going to be getting tested every practice. So if I'm the Raiders, do I put my foot down right now and say, "Hey, Derek, we're going to need you to just chill out for the remainder until camp is officially started"?
Yeah, I think that would probably be the best idea. I think that'd be the best idea anyway. I mean, I know these guys are getting in work, and it's good to see them out there working. It's great to see him, lead the charge and everything and start to get familiar with each other. But you're only going to do so much out there. I mean, you really are. You're not under the supervision of coaches, and they're not running it the way that they would want to run it. They're just out there doing their thing. They're getting some burn, which is good. But yeah, they probably should just, peel back. We got about 25 days until training camp is supposed to start. If a couple guys go out there and maybe throw the rock a couple times, or him and a wide receiver run some routes, that's fine. But like you said about Nevada, the numbers are going up. The numbers are going up in Texas. The numbers are going up everywhere. So right now the biggest thing is for everyone to be safe. So when they do get to camp, they're safe and they don't get in there and all of a sudden DC, well, he's got COVID, so he's out for 14 days. Well, Henry Ruggs has got COVID, he's out for 14 days. Now all of a sudden, now you lost valuable time of actual teaching on the grass with your coaches. So I think the best thing for them to do, if they're gonna do anything, is just if they're not gonna cut it all the way out, ease it back a lot. I mean, really, really come off of it and just be safe, man. Get to training camp safe. That's the most important thing. Get in there positive or negative, actually, and then stay in there and just get where you need to be so you can prepare for a season that you hope is going to happen.
Absolutely.
I actually have a slightly different opinion about that, and I've shared it on the show before.
Why you say it like that, though?
He just came in with the
shit. And I'm going to tell you why. So the NFLPA is sending out a letter talking about guys showing up at a park, and last I recall, these guys aren't being paid for that.
True.
They're not being paid for that. You don't have the room to tell them what they should be doing with their personal time. Now, that being said, with COVID being what it is and expanding everywhere and cases rising, what they should be doing is practicing in controlled facilities. They should be practicing in controlled team facilities and relaxing some of those restrictions so that they can get a workout, so that everybody is on a semi-level playing field, and operating in as safe as the conditions as possible is in the best interest of everybody. I mean, if you don't let these guys practice, run out, get that burn, and keep their bodies up, because really they shouldn't be going to the gym either. If you really want to get technical, they shouldn't be going to all of their performance specialists. They shouldn't be doing any of that. And if that's what you're doing, then the overall quality of the product on the field is going to be awful. We're already down half the preseason game, so you can't even cycle through what's going to be the bottom of your roster. You're holding off on training camp. We don't necessarily know for sure. Once they go to training camp, are they going to be able to go full contact, go live? What are they still going to be on COVID restrictions or any of that? So as you look at that, the safest thing to do would be to place them in an NBA type isolation bubble, which would easily be created at the practice facility.
Right, no, that's true, and I believe that they're going to allow rookies and some veterans. I guess if you're coming back from injury or whatever, I believe that they're going to allow them in a couple weeks early, just to get their bodies acclimated and get them started to get used to it, since they didn't have rookie minicamp and OTAs and all that other stuff. But as far as doing it in a controlled environment, that's basically the same as training camp. And so they're not going to let them, you know what I mean? They're not going to let them get a jump on it and just say, okay, well, go ahead and get to your facilities. So they're not really going to allow them to do that. So my biggest thing, man, I just want them to be as healthy as possible when training camp arrives. So they're giving themselves a fighting chance, because look, every team's going to come down with it. There's going to be players that are across the league that you're going to hear, this guy has it, this guy has it, this team has it. We've heard about Zeke Elliott already. We've heard about, a homeboy up in Denver, Von Miller, he got it. I mean, there's all kind of other people that have gotten it already, and they're going to continue to get it. And at some point, we're going to hear a couple Raiders got it, and hopefully they're going to only be in a very small, isolated area, and it'll only be 1 or 2 guys that are affected, and not 4 or 6, because then 4 or 6 guys could turn into 12 and 14, and then all of a sudden it's a snowball effect. So the biggest thing, man, is just getting the training camp as healthy as possible. So if it means you got to eliminate what you got to do, hell, we're doing it every day, just trying to be healthy and live our everyday lives and go to our jobs on the regular, or take care of our families however we do it. So, I mean, they're going to have to do the same thing. And training camp is going to be strange. Preseason is going to be strange, with it either being 2 games or no games. I really believe the first 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season are going to be what we would consider preseason. It's going to be really getting to playing good football. I think we're going to see a lot of sloppy early in the season. And then by the time you get to week 4 or week 5, maybe you'll start to see some really good football action.
Yeah. Fun fact, Phil, the NFL Players Association did send them different things to do for their workouts. They did give them the availability. Like if you have like a personal trainer, you can bring them in to help work with you and whatnot. They did have that installed going back in, I believe it was March, late March going into April. So they had the access for that. So, I mean, they were fine. But with what Q just said, yeah, we might not even have a preseason.
Right.
First 4 games of the season, it could be a sloppy fest. And, we could be seeing a lot of duds being thrown into the ground. But, hey, I mean, this is what's going to be expected. I mean, Some people might not like it, but, I mean, it is what it is. And the fact of the matter is we have to get adjusted to it. And
that's where I think the Raiders will have a slight advantage, because they have so many people coming back on offense. I think that's where they'll have such a slight advantage, is because they'll kind of already be on the same page, even though they have a guy like Henry Ruggs is going to be new. Lynn Bowden Jr. will be new. But I mean, you got guys that are familiar with the system already, so you won't have a hard learning curve, where you have other teams that don't have hardly any continuity, have like 20-30% continuity coming back. I like the fact that the Raiders have so much coming back on offense. It'll give them a fighting chance early in the season where other teams may be trying to catch up. That's another reason why I think that they're going to be pretty good early on. And
another clean fact, the offensive line is back.
Yeah,
all starting 5, and I love it.
Yep, that's going to be important. That offensive line is super important. Gabe Jackson was out last year to start the season. I was actually surprised that he wasn't moved during the offseason, and since he wasn't, I think he's ready to be that dude and still be that dude. And you got Richie Incognito not missing any time. And by the way, you got depth behind him too. The only part of the offensive line that I feel like doesn't have quality depth behind it is the right tackle position. And besides that, I think that the Raiders are really good on that O-line, and it's very important that all 5 of those guys are going to be coming back and ready to rock and roll. And I think it's going to open things up early for Josh Jacobs and do good things for Derek Carr as well. Protect him, give him an opportunity to hold on to the ball a couple extra seconds and get the ball to one of those new weapons he has.
I say one thing on right tackle position. I say the one person that I would trust more than anybody to back up Trent Brown would be David Sharp. I think David Sharp can get even better. I noticed a huge difference out of him from what we saw the past 2 years when he came in. Don't feel that he should be on the left side.
No.
He's already gotten accustomed to that right side. He needs to stay there. As we all know, and I think we had a little chat about that last summer. I was like, call, going to trade Brandon Parker to Houston. You're like, no, wait, don't do that. But, I feel like he's the odd man out this year, dude. It's written on the wall. Unless you're going to put him inside as a guard. But, I don't even see any hope for that.
No, I don't either. And they got plenty of guards. They got plenty of depth. I really am a big fan of John Simpson. That's kind of the guy that I'm holding out a lot of hope for, the 4th-round pick out of Clemson. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. And I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year or when, but at some point he's going to be a starter, and I think he's going to be a damn good one. I'm very excited about where they were able to get him and what he brings to the table. I think that that's the guy that Raider Nation is going to really start to remember his name, John Simpson, 4th-round pick out of Clemson.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that one. I don't know if anybody's heard the news. The Washington Redskins looks like they're going to be getting ready to change that name. Thoughts on that, you guys?
Well, I had someone ask me this earlier because I tweeted out when Nike started, got rid of all their stuff, washed them off the website. Yeah. I said, well, Nike's letting it be known what they want. And so someone's like, well, why do you want the name change? And I said, look, it's not for me. Nope. The name doesn't bother me. There's a lot of things that don't bother me that's going on right now that don't bother me. But I get it. And it's something that's been talked about for many, many years. It's been basically it's like beating a dead horse almost. It's been talked about so much. And, Daniel Snyder, the owner of the Redskins, has come out and said he's talked to Native Americans that have said it's not a big deal. They take it as a sense of pride. And then there's others that are angry about it. So I just think with what's going on in this country, I think it was something that was inevitable. It was going to happen at some point. It's one of the first things I thought of. I was like, yep, that's going to happen this year, just because, like I said, everything that's going on. Again, it's not for me. I don't go to sleep and say, oh, my God, I wish Washington's name wasn't the Redskins. But, again, it's not just about me, and it's not just about you guys. It's other people out there that, don't appreciate it. And so if there's, a large group of people that don't like it, then who am I to say no, don't change it, So I think I think it's been a long time coming. It's going to be strange because that's who I always know. I always know the Washington Redskins. I mean, they're just one of those teams. It's kind of iconic, franchise in the league, even though they haven't been playing very well as of late or as of, I don't know, the last 10, 15 years, whatever. It's been a while, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I just don't know what they're going to change it to, but it looks like sooner rather than later, it's going to happen.
So, I mean, not just Nike, it was FedEx, and that's one of their main sponsors. I mean, FedEx Field. They're talking about saying, "Hey, we're done with you if you don't do this."
Right.
And, I'm looking at right now on Twitter, a lot of folks putting in their thoughts and opinions on what the new name should be. And one that stuck out, I really like it. I mean, they say they stick with the same color and they could pull it off. The Washington Red Tails, named after the Tuskegee Airmen from World War II. And I'm thinking, if I'm just like, I would be down for that.
It fits. Right. Logo's not a big, huge change. Color scheme stays the same, and you start catering to your audience and your demographic.
And not even that, being in Landover, where the stadium is located at, being in Landover, Maryland, and that's about 5 minutes away from where I am.
Yeah,
it's predominantly Black,
right?
And to have that for that Black community, that would be a major solid. And that's another thing. That's what gets me with Daniel Snyder. I feel like he does more out in the Virginia area than what he's doing in this area of Maryland, where it's close to the district.
Right.
I see less and less. If they were really doing something, it would have been there. There was a time it was back in the early 90s, but then it just faded off.
Right. Well, all I know is that if and when that name gets changed, and I feel like it's going to happen sooner rather than later, it's all 100% about money. It's not about, it's not about, yeah, you're right. We feel like it's an offensive name and we don't want to do this anymore. They're only going to do it to save face because of, like you mentioned, FedEx, Pepsi, Nike. I mean, everyone that's billions of dollars that they could possibly lose by sponsors pulling out. That's the only reason why they're going to do it if they do it. And I do think that they're going to end up doing it, but it'll all go back to just because of the money.
No, especially when you're looking at a season where you won't have fans, you can't charge ticket prices. Now you start pulling sponsors, and all of a sudden that's a huge problem for the Washington franchise, currently named the Redskins.
And see, my big thing is, and this kind of goes to all the social justice that's going on and everything, and I've said this before on my radio show, I don't need to go back in time, and I don't need to change the names of syrup. I don't need to change the names of a lot of things. I don't need to go back in time and fix a lot of things. I need to move forward and fix a lot of things. You know what I mean? I want to use energy to fix things that are moving forward so my son has it easier than I did. I don't necessarily need to go backwards and say, well, that syrup offended me. I don't want a slave Aunt Jemima to be on this syrup. I don't care. This isn't what the movement is about. It's not about, the Washington Redskins name. It's not about singing the Black National Anthem before games. It's none of that. It's what it's about is police brutality. What it's about is systematic racism. That's what I want. That's where I want to see the change and the energy and the change go. I don't need it to go backwards. I need it to go forward. And so as long as that doesn't get lost, I'm fine with whatever goes on. But I just feel like there's going to be so much energy and so much time spent on trying to go back and change history instead of fixing it before we repeat it.
No, and I agree on that one. I feel like that's been the main thing that's been going on. You're doing to cancel this, and this, and we're at a point where you guys are doing everything but what we needed you to do.
Right.
We needed you guys to handle what's going on in the police departments. We needed you guys to handle what you said was systematic racism, and it's not being done right away.
Right.
That's what we need done now.
Yep.
And once you do that, we're going to be satisfied. We're going to be all right.
Right.
But until then, we're stuck with like, oh, we're going to cancel Live PD. I love Live PD because I'm going to tell you this. Live PD actually showed you how community policing is supposed to be done. On how police officers are supposed to be doing their jobs.
Right. Right.
That should have never got canceled.
I agree.
It's all stuff, and then it's like, oh, we're gonna if we had white actors doing a person of color's voice on TV, I'm stepping down. It's like, okay, give some guys an opportunity, okay, but I want you guys to listen here. We need you to do not all that. We need you to do the two major things. handle these police departments and systemic racism.
Right.
And add more inclusion into the processes at every level, municipal, state, and federal.
Yeah.
Because we can't ever get equality or get stuff changed as long as the same people keep running the show.
And I say another thing right here. When folks are saying defund the police departments, I'm going to say this. That funding, instead of, and I had to really sit down and talk to some officers that I know they do their job right. And they grew up in neighborhoods with me. One thing that needs to be done, the money should be focused on more community policing. And that is the problem with our departments. That is why this officer doesn't know Miss Robinson from down the street. That's why this officer doesn't know that Jamil and Jonathan, the two twins down the street, usually play and go to the community center right over there around the corner. I don't see more. It needs to be more officers in the community saying, "Hey, how you doing?" Instead of, why are you stalking this person? You should just be introducing, like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Officer Jones. I'm going to be patrolling this area. How are you doing? What's your name?" Introduce yourself. Let the folks know that I'm here. If here's my card, whatever's going on, there's a problem, you guys can call me. That's some of the first steps. I know there are some departments that kind of interact with their community still. I say Camden, New Jersey, they went and just cleaned house in their department. They didn't defund it. They cleaned house and rebuilt from the ground up.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been a problem since. When I hear folks saying that I actually feel comfortable now with my police department, that's something a lot of folks haven't heard in God knows how many years.
If ever.
Right. Yep.
When you can say that I feel comfortable with my police officers right here. They're not just driving in the neighborhood. They're walking in the neighborhood. They're introducing themselves. They're saying, "Good day, how you doing?" Well, that's how community policing is supposed to be done.
Yeah, they should be part of the community.
Yeah,
simple as that. They should be part of the community.
Part of the community.
Yep.
So you know everything that's going down, where, who's doing what, where. It should be no surprise, and nobody should know your own block better than you.
Yep.
Absolutely, and that's what we're failing at. And another thing is the problem, and this deals with our government a little bit more, where you have some of these 911 calls. You're getting these 911 calls to cops that should be going to somewhere like, I don't know, like, there's a dog loose. Why is it going to the cop? And it should be going to animal control.
Right.
Why is it not going to this? Oh, a tree went down. Why? That should be going to someone like, okay, someone in the county, city, let's say the city of Oakland. We should be having someone for yeah, should be one of them coming up there, getting the tree, get it cut down, get it out of the way where it's not a big hassle. Probably had the fire department on scene, but you doing all of this stuff, having all these cops spread out to some of these calls like that, that's actually becoming a problem. And it's actually taking the money away to where that should be used for community policing.
Right.
See, I'm going to tell you this, I know there's some people probably may be a little butthurt with hearing this, but that is some of the problems of why we're not having the officers respond and handle this, and this, because they're responding to something that is not in their field.
Right.
It needs to be adjusted. It needs to be corrected. And when you have these new chiefs of police coming in and they're like, look, I'm trying to fix what the problem is in this department, you got to make sure that you're getting rid of them old dusty birds that don't want to be a part of the change. You got to make sure you sniff them out quick. When you're leaving them in there, they're now a cancer that is latching onto you new officers and some of your officers that didn't have a problem saying, we don't want this change, blah, blah, blah. What the hell is he doing, blah, blah, blah. And then you have an internal battle that you shouldn't be seeing.
Right. Agreed.
So,
absolutely.
So when we say defund, we need to like really look at that word better than the way people are saying, well, we need to get rid of the police officers. Right. No, we don't need to get rid of police officers. We need better officers. We need them to be trained better, and that funding should be used correctly. And we need to make sure we get on our elected officials to make sure, hey, 911 shouldn't be called for this, this, and this. This should be an 800. It should be a 500 number, 800 number, whatever the number it is, where exactly where they can go and reach that person for he just ingested bleach. Well, you know, why are the cops being called for that? Local chemical control, they poison toxins, they should be the ones handling that. Right. Step 1, you need to do this. Step 2, you need to do that. Then call 911, call EMS. That's their job.
Right.
That needs to get fixed. And once that gets fixed, I'm telling you this, things can start to flow better.
Me too.
Man, I can't stress it out enough.
Nah, you're right. You're right. I'm laughing. I just saw a comment saying, I'm jealous of your boy Keo want a haircut, man. Haircuts are necessary, man. You gotta have a haircut, man.
It's been a long time, but we pretty. I mean, it really is a question of reallocating funds. Defunding is not is what everybody hears. Abolish it. I've seen, and that's just crazy talk.
Right.
You need a policing department, a policing force of some kind. Don't confuse yourself and think that you don't. That's never going to work. But what you need to do is you need to get specialized people in special areas, which is to what Jones was saying. You need a mental health. You need a mental health faction. You need a better drug task force. One that's actually focusing on rehabilitation, not locking people up.
Exactly.
You need to start reaching these kids earlier and show these kids not to be afraid, not to be worried. But the true policeman and the true feeling behind it, and keeping your neighborhood safe from those who would come in and do it harm, who would cause destruction in it, who would try to make your neighborhood go down and be the ghetto that we all hate to see. The ghetto has been glorified, and quite frankly, we need to stop it. Yes, we've come from it. Yes, we've lived in it, but we all need to be living better. and that's just the simple math of it. And it really, and at this stage in our lives, it starts with what you teach kids.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Starts at home.
And one thing with the police departments, stop putting these guys that are not familiar with this area, who didn't even live in those areas. That's one of the other major problems. Like, where are you from? Oh, you know, I'm from
at least
this part of Baltimore, and you're all the way down in the DC area in Ward 8, knowing that you don't know how to speak to folks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a major problem. I know you deal with it in Houston. I know you deal with it out in Oakland. I deal with it out this way. And I'm just like, this ain't Baltimore.
Right.
You approach certain people, that approach tells a lot of things about a man, especially a police officer. Like, oh, he's going to be one of those guys. I see what I'm about to get ready to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It all goes back to communication. It always goes back to communication. The way that you communicate with people, the way that, you know, they communicate with you, you get a judgment from someone immediately. You know, I could judge someone based off the way that they start talking to me. I could tell, okay, this dude don't respect me, or this dude do respect me. You know what I mean? And if you come off, and if you're an officer of the law and you come off like a dude who's very disrespectful off meeting me off top, I know exactly what kind of party it's going to be. You know what I mean? I know what kind of how it's going to go. And so I'm not feeling too good.
Yeah, 3 words in, I'm knowing either I'm getting shot or I'm gonna be here for at least an hour.
Right. Yep.
Absolutely not one. But you know what? I think we really hit on it.
Yeah, I think so.
Q, it's been a blast. Tell them about your radio show, your podcast, where they can find you, how we can support you, uplift what you do, and all of that good stuff.
Well, I'm on ESPN Central Texas Monday through Friday, noon to 3, and it's actually funny. I never knew that people took off the 3rd of July. I never knew that, but apparently you do. That you take off the 3rd of July, so the radio station took off today. So that's why I was actually available to do the show today with you guys, because I was off. So I got out there early this morning and mowed the lawn, and then got prepared to come on the show with you guys. So you got my radio fix in for me today, because I was kind of fiending not being on the radio today. So noon to 3, ESPN Central Texas. You can find me every single day. I do the Locked On Raiders podcast. I put that out every morning about 2:15 a.m. and let it roll all day long. And yeah, man, it's just, you can find me anywhere. Twitter at your boy Q254, and I'll get back at you every time. And I appreciate all the feedback, and appreciate you guys inviting me onto your platform and onto your show, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes, it has. We'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah, for sure.
It was fun, you guys. Hey, remember, you guys can go on and recap the show on our YouTube page, The Unfiltered Truth, and you can catch it up on my Periscope. I have it always posted all the time. So other than that, you guys enjoy the rest of your day, your evening. Be safe out there, and you guys have a great 4th of July weekend. Go on and barbecue. Maybe, I know Johnny Pham jumped up in here. Go on and slab the ribs down. Yep. Go on and get nice cold beer. And if you're going out, wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Yes.
It's required.
Remember the reason behind the 4th of July as well. Shout out to all the troops, and shout out to, the country. Even though we're going through some times right now, we're in a better country than a lot of countries. So, just want to shout out the 4th of July. Shout out anyone who's an active military person or veteran, or anyone who's sacrificed the ultimate sacrifice to allow us to go and do a show like this. So thank you for anyone out there that has some ties to the military. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Quick shout out to my boy Danny Garcia on that new Raiders jersey, that Howie Long jersey, that the throwback. Hey, I'm going to be repping that bad boy all season.
Nice.
All right. That being said, you guys take care. God bless. Enjoy the rest of your day.
God bless.